Intoxicated moments in history. Nazis on drugs. Germany was in a terrible state following the First World War. These conditions gave rise to the Nazi Party, but also laid the foundation for the proliferation of drug use. Upon the outbreak of the Second World War, both the Third Reich and drugs would find their histories entwined. This influence would stretch from the home front to the front lines and go all the way up the German chain of command, even to the Führer himself. Today, we will be asking the question, just how high were the Nazis? Civilian drug use. 1920s Germany was in desperate need of pain relief, created by hyperinflation, humiliation, loss of faith in government, and hundreds of thousands of returning veterans. Drug use in the Weimar period exploded, with Berlin becoming one of Europe's premier destinations for dope and sex. Cocaine was the drug of the streets. Records indicate Peru sold almost all of its raw cocaine production to Germany during this time period. Morphine also proved particularly pervasive among veterans, and reportedly 40% of Berlin doctors were hooked on the substance. When the Nazi Party seized power in 1933, their propaganda called for the master race to rise up and take its rightful place on the world stage. This, theoretically, meant returning the nation to the ideals of a pure, clean living society in opposition to the perceived excesses and moral decline of the post-war period. Laws were passed to attempt to curtail drug use, but would ultimately have a muted impact on the general population, being used instead to target minority groups. After all, the Führer's call for an awakened Germany might benefit from a wired population. In the 1930s, Temmler, a Berlin pharmaceutical company, developed a methamphetamine-based drug called Providin. By 1938, it entered the civilian market and quickly became a top seller. This new, over-the-counter sensation could boost confidence, extend wakefulness, and suppress hunger. It was even added to chocolates for everyday consumption. As the stresses on the hope front increased with the outbreak of war, the uses of a performance-enhancing stimulant proved increasingly advantageous. Military drug use. Either through personal use or indirect research, members of the German military command grew increasingly interested in the potential war-winning benefits of drugs. In 1939, Providin was investigated by the Academy of Military Medicine and tested on drivers during the invasion of Poland. Glowing reports showed that in most subjects, the stimulant increased self-confidence, concentration, and the willingness to take risks, while also reducing hunger, thirst, pain, and the need for sleep. Such effects were perfectly suited for Germany's planned blitzkrieg warfare and was quickly adopted. During the invasions of 1940, drugs were distributed in bulk to the front lines. Between April and July, more than 35 million tablets of Providin and Isofan were shipped to the German Army and Air Force. A stimulant decree was sent out to Army doctors, recommending that soldiers take 1 tablet per day and 2 at night in short sequence. Official guidelines stated that 2 tablets eliminated the need to sleep for 3 to 8 hours, and 4 tablets could be effective for 24 hours. In this context, it is easier to understand how German divisions were able to make such rapid advances into France in such little time. Providin continued to be supplied to the armed forces as the war dragged on. Letters recovered from the front show soldiers writing home, begging for more Providin and touting its beneficial effects. On the Eastern Front, a military doctor recorded that his unit was struggling to move in freezing weather until drugs were issued. Within 30 minutes, quote, the men began spontaneously reporting that they felt better. They began marching in orderly fashion again, their spirits improved, and they became more alert, end quote. Such drug use spread from the troops to their higher-ups in the all-out effort to keep the war machine running in the face of a protracted conflict. Shortly, however, it became clear that a meth-addicted force could not operate at superhuman levels indefinitely. The drug's potency was waning, and health problems flared up with frequent use. Though the downsides of widespread stimulant use were increasingly noticeable, desperate times called for desperate measures. New research was undertaken, and in 1944, a miracle pill was developed, codenamed D9. It contained 5 milligrams of cocaine, 3 milligrams of Providin, and 5 milligrams of Eucadol. Test subjects could march for up to 90 kilometers per day without rest, while carrying a 20-kilogram backpack. While these new drugs may not have won Germany the war, they certainly played a part in prolonging it. So I hope you appreciated this short form look into Invicta content. Now if you want to see our full length documentaries, you can head on over to the main channel, and either way, I'll see you in the next one.